I want to again welcome the Governor of New York, the Honorable Kathy Hochul, a great friend of Puerto Rico. New Yorkers have been by our side during difficult times and are also with us to promote our economic development and improve our people's quality of life. Similarly to last year, Governor Hochul and I continue to look for ways to collaborate, given that New York is home to hundreds of thousands of Puerto Ricans, actually close to 1 million Puerto Ricans. Today, we're launching a new New York State and Puerto Rico Economic Opportunity Advisory Council to strengthen our economic and cultural connection. Both Puerto Rico and New York share common priorities to grow our economies and help our communities thrive, and it makes sense for us to do it together. The council will be co-chaired by New York Secretary of State Robert Rodriguez and Puerto Rico Secretary of State Omar Marrero, and will meet quarterly to deliver recommendations to both of us. The Advisory Council will include government agency representatives from New York and Puerto Rico to work on joint initiatives related to trade, tourism, economic development, emergency response, technology, healthcare, and workforce development. Our administrations have already met several times to discuss areas in which to concentrate our initial efforts and have identified 3 initiatives to solidify this partnership. First, as part of the Council's work, we will launch the first ever New York-Puerto Rico Life Sciences Exchange to promote growth in this industry. The exchange will be hosted by IndieBio New York, a biotech startup in New York City, and will work with the Puerto Rico Biotech Hub, a component of the Puerto Rico Science, Technology, and Research Trust, which is one of the 31 federal tech hubs designated by President Biden and U.S. Commerce Secretary Raimondo as part of the CHIPS and Science Act. Second, the Council will support collaboration between New York's Connect All broadband initiative and Puerto Rico's Smart Island initiative, both of which are investing around $1 billion in providing broadband access to all residents. And thirdly, both the New York State and Puerto Rico Departments of Health will coordinate efforts to strengthen healthcare programs and policies to improve the lives of New Yorkers and Puerto Ricans. Given that Puerto Rico and New York both are part of Region 2 of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, it certainly makes sense to work together in all health-related issues, including more equitable access to funding for the island. As for background purposes, Puerto Rico is not treated as a state in both the Medicaid and Medicare programs. And I know Governor Hochul will be our ally to ensure that we get a fair deal in our Medicaid funding, as well as we fix the disparities we face in the Medicare program. Puerto Rico and New York have strong ties and shared goals, which is why this partnership will surely benefit both of our communities by promoting and growing important sectors of our economies. Collaborating in health and research initiatives and in the democratization of access to technology is another key step to our sustainable economic development aspirations. I thank Governor Hochul for her continued support and look forward to expanding our work together. I will translate this briefly to Spanish. Para resumir, la gobernadora Hochul y este servidor estamos creando un consejo asesor llamado el New York State and Puerto Rico Economic Opportunity Advisory Council, y liderado por los secretarios de Estado Robert Rodríguez de Nueva York y Omar Marrero de Puerto Rico, para promover colaboración socioeconómica entre nuestras dos jurisdicciones que tienen tantos lazos en común. El Consejo se compondrá de representantes de agencias relacionadas al desarrollo económico, comercio y exportación, turismo, salud y tecnología, entre otras. Desde ya hemos identificado 3 áreas iniciales para trabajar, que son el sector de las biociencias, el sector de la tecnología y acceso a banda ancha y el sector de la salud. Esta colaboración tiene un gran potencial para ambos, dado la gran población puertorriqueña en el estado de Nueva York, cerca de 1 millón de boricuas que viven en el estado de Nueva York. Agradezco a la gobernadora Hochul y a su equipo de trabajo por siempre estar dispuestos a unir esfuerzos con nuestra gente. Muchas gracias. And I now want Governor Hochul to address all of you. Welcome.
Gracias and buenos dias. It's so wonderful to be back here. This is my third trip as the governor of the state of New York to join with you, a dear friend of mine, since our days in Congress. Right. I think we both agree we're in a far, far better place as governors than as members of Congress, but that's just an editorial comment. But we work closely together. We have a lot of shared interests, not just constituencies, where I am very proud to represent nearly 1 million Puerto Ricans in the city of New York and in the state of New York, but also to come here and find areas where we can collaborate and use our resources together, our collective knowledge, to better the lives of people here on the island and in our state. I also want to acknowledge our secretaries of state who are here as well. My own Robert Rodriguez, thank you for spearheading this initiative with your compatriot here in Puerto Rico, our Secretary Omar Moreno Diaz. I thank both of them for their willingness to step up and lead this initiative. You know, as we come here together, it does remind us of not just that connection in good times, but also in the most troubling times. You know, whether it's a severe weather event, extreme weather events, where the island is battered with hurricanes and earthquakes, we'll always be there to help. But also in the good times as well, as we talk about fostering collaborations that'll lead to more business opportunities, more economic development, and more jobs being created. And that's something we both focus on very seriously. You laid out the parameters of what we're talking about here, but this council, which will be co-chaired by both our secretaries of state, will have administrative officials from both sides. I mean, this is the first time we've had literally members of your cabinet and my cabinet sitting together to talk about trade and tourism and economic development, and emergency response and recovery, as well as technology and life sciences. So we're going to focus on these areas, life science in particular. It's a huge area of investment in the state of New York. We've done a lot. It's paying off because our own life science companies have grown by over 15% in the last couple of years. Jobs have grown by 18%. We have 3 million square feet for lab science, lab space in New York alone. But why not bring some of those ideas to Puerto Rico? So we can also take from you areas where you may be doing better and flourishing. We're going to help our startups, our investors, and find more potential for growth here as well. But also, we think about the digital divide. It is real. This is a barrier, whether it's in rural New York or in rural Puerto Rico. And working together and with the resources from the federal government and our own states and Commonwealth, we also know that anyone who's left behind is really on the wrong side of the digital divide, that they won't have the same business opportunities to innovate a concept and be able to sell it commercially online, or young people trying to apply for college or student aid, or someone trying to file their taxes. All these things that you take for granted, if you don't have it, it's like air. You never think about air. You breathe it naturally. But if you're gasping for air and don't have access to clean air, then you're on the wrong side. And that's what we're talking about, bringing everyone to the side where they can breathe fresh air and breathe in the possibilities of having full internet access. So that's what we're going to focus on. Our ties are close. They're very strong. They get stronger every time we have a chance to work together. And that is my commitment to you, Governor, that we'll continue to be a strong, strong partner, your ally, whether it's dealing with your issues in Washington, of which there are a number, and I'll be your ally, but also how we can work together to head off the ill effects of Mother Nature oftentimes, but also to stimulate both of our economies by working together. So thank you very much for hosting us. And our secretaries of state will speak as well. Okay. Robert Rodriguez.
So buenas tardes, good evening, thank you everyone, and of course thank you to Governor Hochul for allowing us this unwavering support for Puerto Rico and allowing us to continue in our efforts building those bonds. She is truly familia, because she knows that not because we have 1 million people in the state of New York, but because she has and continues to care for the people of Puerto Rico, not just during disasters, as has been mentioned, but how do we build those bonds forward and continue to grow? And I think that's what is exciting about this effort. It's about economic opportunity that truly touches every part of life of Puerto Ricans and New Yorkers, and the ability to collaborate together to serve not just the 1 million Puerto Ricans in New York State, but the people of Puerto Rico is why we come together. We know the opportunities are around trade, tourism, economic development, emergency response and recovery, tech, healthcare, workforce development, and others. So this collaboration continues to activate the diaspora to help support the people of Puerto Rico, and I want to thank Governor Pierluisi for the partnership and the opportunity to continue to work with Secretary Marrero and to do what is important as a proud Puerto Rican born in East Harlem El Barrio, to continue to support the people of Puerto Rico in their efforts and in our efforts in New York to build up the infrastructure needed for the 21st century. So thank you, and of course, thank you to Secretary Marrero and to the governors.
Well, thank you both governors. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, everybody. For us, it's just a pleasure how we can find new ways to optimize the opportunities that we have because of the relationship. I remember a couple of months ago when Robert came to me and told me about this great opportunity to revive this commission and try to find ways to collaborate, but to reap benefits for both communities. And I'm glad that we are here today, that we are making it real, that now we're just paving the way to have the structure through which we can optimize this opportunity for both New York and Puerto Rico. So now in Spanish, muchas gracias a todos por estar aquí. Esto es una de las maneras que podemos seguir colaborando con uno de los estados donde más presencia existe de puertorriqueños. Mucho hablamos de que el turismo puede ser una oportunidad para desarrollar Puerto Rico de manera económica. Pues no solamente eso, puede ser la primera cita para el desarrollo económico. Y lo hemos visto con Nueva York y lo vamos a seguir viendo a través de otras estrategias para optimizar esta oportunidad. Así que muchas gracias para el gobernador Pedro Pierluisi, muchas gracias a la gobernadora Hochul, Robert Rodríguez. Nuevamente, me alegra saber que podemos seguir colaborando, no solamente a través del National Association Secretary of State, pero también ya de manera puntual, para el beneficio tanto de los puertorriqueños en la isla, como también a los puertorriqueños y los neoyorquinos del estado de Nueva York. Así que gracias por estar aquí.